All right, I just want to start a series on formulas within Excel. Again, all the formulas in Excel are in this tab under formulas, and there's a bunch of different types, financial, logical, text, lookup, and reference. I use a fair number of them, but there are many formulas built in. I typically don't use this tab. So, for instance, we're going to talk about sum today, and we could, come over here to the math and bring up the sum formula, and it's going to give us this, and you can put it in the box. And if you have a new formula you haven't used, sometimes this is helpful, but generally speaking, it's easier just to learn, especially the ones you're going to use a lot, learn how to type them in. So I have something here. We have all the 31 days of January and how many orders we took in each day, and I just want to add those all together. And so I can go down here to the bottom. You can see here's a spot for total, and I can do equals sum. So anytime you hit equals, it tells Excel that we're going to calculate something. In this case, when you then type the formula names, it will actually it will start populating down here different possible formulas. So if you're not entirely sure which one you need, it has some descriptions and things like that. But I would encourage you, if there's any you want to know, especially simple ones like sum, just to memorize what their tags are and type them in. It's a lot faster than going through the formulas. And then for sum, all it asks for is a set of numbers. And generally what this is going to be is a range. And in Excel, you set a range in a very particular way. Again, my data here goes from B2 to B32. Depending on if you know your ranges or not, you can do this in a bunch of different ways. So you can actually type those in, B2 colon B32, and it will add them all together. So that's one way to do it. I will stress also you can type it in this way, B2 to B32. You do not need capital letters. When you hit enter, it'll change them to capitals, so it is not case sensitive. But the colon tells it that this is a range. So when you put the colon in between two numbers, it sets this one as the top left, and this one is the bottom right of a rectangle, basically, and it'll add all, sum up all the numbers in between those two things. So let me show you real quickly what I mean by top left, bottom right. So I can flip over to sheet 2 here, and again, this data is down linked below if you want to play with it. So let's say instead we're looking at sales amounts for different sales reps over some period of time. If I want to sum up a total of all of them, so if I want to sum up a total of all of them, then I can go from B2 colon G183, and you'll see B2 sets this top left parameter. So this is the first cell, and then G183 sets this, and it grabs everything within that rectangle. Okay, so that's what the colon is for, is to grab an area that is across. It can be one column or across multiple columns, with this being the top left and this being the bottom right. Okay, and it'll just add those all together. So anyway, that's what I mean by top left, bottom right. Whereas in this case, they both happen to be in the same column. Okay. Now, if you don't want to type those out, you don't have to. There's a bunch of other ways to do this. So you can equal sum, and you can actually click and drag. The reason I don't generally do this is, especially when you have thousands of lines of numbers and stuff, it takes a lot longer to click and drag. With 30 here, it's not that bad. With with 183, it's not too bad either. You'll see it drags pretty quickly. Okay. So, you can do it that way with the mouse. I just find it to be much slower. You can also use your arrow keys and shift. So if I hit up, it'll highlight B32, then I can hold shift and just hold the up arrow. Okay, and it will highlight all of them. So again, probably scrolling and things, or clicking and dragging, it's kind of a long process if you have a lot of things, but you can do that, up shift and hold shift while you're hitting up, and it will highlight a range and do it that way. And then the nice thing with sum is they also have this auto sum feature built into Excel. And if you look right there when I mouse over auto sum, in formula it says sum, and it has parentheses alt plus equals. So actually, the fastest way to do sums, if you're just summing up a column, is if I hold Alt and hit the equals key, it will just it'll guess what range of things I want and kind of grab it for me. So that's probably the fastest way for sum. Most of the other formulas won't have a shortcut quite like that, but sum definitely does. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Again, if you don't want the colon, so if you don't want to grab everything, you just want to grab pieces. So let's say, let's go back here real quick. Let's say I just want week 1 sales for 2, 4, 6. Okay, then I can do it that way. So I can hit equal sum, then I can hit I want sales rep 2, and then I can hit, instead of a colon, hit a comma, 4, comma, 6. Okay, so you can type in commas, and it will grab non-contiguous data, so data that's not next to each other. The other way to do this, if you don't want to type the commas in, which generally I don't, especially if you're doing quite a few, is click the first one you want, then hold Control, and while you're holding Control down, click the other two, and it'll put the commas in for you. Okay, oh, I didn't type sum, did I? So anyway, you can hold Control to grab separate pieces. You can hold Shift to grab groupings. So anyway, that's how sum works. It just adds up everything in the cells that you highlight within the equal sum parenthesis, and whatever cells you put in the parentheses here, it will add them all together. And that's about it. It's one of the simplest ones, but I'll be doing more videos on other formulas.